When games become reality, the world merges with the world, and monsters continue to ravage. How should humans survive? Crossing the game world, Bai Wenxue wants to know how to return to reality. How to get along with family when returning to reality with special abilities. I, Bai Wenxue, have been reborn into a dragon mother in another world. God. I eat lemons. Chapter 1. Travel Games. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. De co lois ara trong quatrin lay text. Chapter 2. War with the World. Tata Open. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. What kind of trap did I fall into? Bai Wenxue knelt down with his head clasped in his hands, but then lifted his head again as if thinking of something. His previously empty and lifeless eyes instantly regained their radiance. Wait, am I not a fully tested account for completing the game? Can I exit at any time? What good thing do you think? It's no longer a game now, don't you understand? The voice of Guangtuan was somewhat bewildered, and it was speechless towards the humans in front of it. It felt that what it was saying was already quite clear. I can't accept it, wouldn't that mean starting over again? And I don't know how much time the mission can give me. The lowest single day is 24 hours. The point is not this, sister. Anyway, you can't go back. I'll tell you directly. The light ball floated before Bai Wenxue's eyes, transforming into a finger that poked Bai Wenxue's forehead in front of him. Just finish the task, be happy, after all, you're not the only player. The explosive information spread to Bai Wenxue's ears, and he looked at the group of light in front of him at a loss, then reached out to look at his friend list. Until he flipped through the information of his former friend who was also online, he also understood the meaning of the self-proclaimed deity in front of him. They should be talking to my clone. I'm the main body here, so be happy. Speaking, Guangtuan once again opened a portal in front of Bai Wenxue. Alright. Go ahead. As he spoke, Guangtuan transformed into a long leg and kicked Bai Wenxue directly into the portal in front of him. The voice of Bai Wen continued to echo in this space, but the portal was mercilessly closed by this deity in the next moment. After all, it's a world-class fusion. Let's adapt to it early, young man. Oh no, it should be called a girl now. Guangtuan transformed into a facial expression, and the corners of his mouth also slightly raised, speaking like a black-bellied woman. I am reborn. Reborn on that snowy night, I stayed alone in the snow, chased by others. Hello, what are you doing? So can you still talk to me? Quickly push the main storyline for me. The voice of the deity was loud, and the words that directly entered the mind pierced the soul, forcing Bai literature to react. So he flipped over and lay back in this pitch-black space. Mind you. How about I show off? Bai Wenwen was a bit angry. After all, his mother was still waiting for him to go to dinner. He had originally planned to log in before dinner and take a look, but unexpectedly, he couldn't go back. Moreover, wandering alone in the gaming world is not at all enjoyable, and Bai Wenxue also knows that one can die in this world. So there is no sense of ignoring life and death in the game. Don't say that, after all, your identity information has been imported, which means you are still the identity you once knew. My identity. What is the ultimate storyline? White literature naturally knows its identity. Although one's character design can be freely set, the identity background is predetermined from the beginning. At the beginning of the game, it is necessary to select a faction consisting of 3 factions. Humans are considered righteous, elves and dwarves are considered neutral, and villains are considered demons and dragons. However, while maintaining a thirst for power, Bai literature decisively chose the antagonistic camp. After all, as long as you are a gamer, you have a bit of a love for dragons, right should it be? Select the antagonist camp, click on the dragon clan, and then proceed to the identity selection process. The dragon race, even the lowest level pseudo-dragon species, has good six-dimensional attributes, so it is also a very suitable pioneering race for beginners, unlike the type that humans need to operate. After all, dragons have thick armor, thick health, and high attack power. And Bai Wenxue directly obtained an EX-level identity, the Holy Son of the Dragon Clan. Although it's hard to imagine how the bald and strong appearance integrated into this gaming environment at the beginning, Bai Wenxue also felt a new world after switching to golden-haired Yujie. Back to now, although. Isn't I a woman now? Yes. Listening to the deity's tone that seemed to be suppressing a smile, Bai Wenxue shook his head slightly bitter. Suppressed the desire for national essence in my heart. After all, seeing others as beautiful and being seen as beautiful by others are two completely different feelings. Moreover, white literature has not become a buffer for women's thoughts. Suddenly, the extreme contrast from being above made it difficult for Bai literature to accept. This has also led to the abnormal calmness of Bai literature now. I remember the ultimate outcome was to kill the strongest king of the Dragon Clan, and if nothing unexpected happened, it would be my father. So what am I doing now? I'll kill my father. Is it considered rebellion or is it father's kindness and filial piety? You're still joking with me now. I'm really showing off. Don't, your main storyline has indeed changed. Now it's time to kill the leader of the demon clan to help the dragon clan unify and return to the world, establishing a kingdom belonging to the dragon. This is a normal main storyline. Reasonable tasks, by the way, is there any abnormal main storyline? There are two, one is to kill your father, and the other is to kill the king of the human side, but there are quite a few human kingdoms, which are quite troublesome. The perfect ending is to achieve all of the above. 6. Go to war with the world, right? Together, I will rule the world. So the rules allow you to freely enter and exit the world by completing one of them, which is also a consideration of difficulty. When Guantuan said this, he suddenly gave Bai Wenxue a feeling of truly serious reflection, but Bai Wenxue didn't know how to evaluate it. Alright, you should be born soon. Ah. Bai Wenwen was about to ask why he can't see anything now, and he hasn't been born yet, right? He's still in his mother's womb. No, don't be too outrageous. He has almost lost his ability to roast. However, this really fits the plot of the game. After all, the game's main focus is on reality. At the beginning of playing, Bai Wenxue is saved in many key places, and a single choice can really change many events. This is still halfway through playing Bai literature, and I only learned about it after seeing many plots that require inherent dialogue to trigger. So although I am an beta player, in fact, there are still many plotlines that Bai Wenxue has not personally experienced. Hiss. Feeling the surroundings gradually becoming cold, Bai Wenxue also began to collide with the surrounding walls, which were eggshells. So egg-laying animals are troublesome, and babies need to do it themselves. Bai Wenxue pretended to pull up the clothes on his arm, exerting another force. Finally, he felt the sunshine outside. No, it should be called she. P.S. I hope everyone can comment more and let me know what everyone likes to watch. Chapter 3 1-year-old summer vacation is the last time to sprint. You are listening at novelfull.audio. I am the princess of the dragon tribe. And today is the banquet of my birth year. Compared to other creatures that have been able to move autonomously for a year, as a dragon, she is still unable to do so. So handy. Dad, I don't want to learn magic today. Little darling, being 1 year old is an important watershed. If you don't go today and don't go tomorrow, isn't that a big lag behind the others? According to my dad, we'll take a leave in the afternoon and attend morning classes. A man with dazzling golden hair, dressed in a gorgeous robe, hugged the snake-like creature in his arms. However, compared to ordinary snakes, he had an extra diagonal corner on his head and 4 claws on his body. The golden scales all over her body showcase her extraordinary qualities. Bad. I don't even want to help your lovely little daughter take leave. Xiao Jinlong spoke in an angry tone, even reaching out his cute little paw to tease the sleeve of the man holding him. Alright, I'll give you a big surprise when I come back this afternoon. Really, the kind you like. What? Is it a gold bead or a gemstone jade artifact? Those are all out of class, you still need to see more. Cut, don't believe it, Xiao Jinlong turned his head and then flew straight up. That's right, she really can't walk freely, but she can fly. Flying like this is like a meaning engraved in the bones. Bai Wenxue was born and knew it, but perhaps she shouldn't call it that name now. She is now Bai Wenxue. To be honest, she quite likes this name. After all, its pronunciation is very similar to his real name, and the surname has not been changed, so it cannot be considered a violation of her father's upbringing. So she gladly accepted it. Xiao Xue. You want to stick to your dad and ask for your leave, right? Look, I won't open flowers for your butt. A cold female voice reached the ears of Bai Wenxue and the blonde man, and the next moment, Bai Wenxue flew without looking back. Alright, don't be so angry. After a while, your body will break down. Look, I haven't taken her leave yet. I will definitely urge her to study. Really, how could she provoke the backbone of my dragon clan in 10,000 years? The life of dragons is very long, so long that any pseudo-dragon mixed with a trace of dragon blood can have almost 1,000 years of life, while their true dragons have an almost infinite lifespan. Unless they really want to reincarnate, they will hardly die. Take your time. I don't know who I learned it from. At the beginning, I was so excited to learn magic, but after a few months, I became tired and argued with me about not wanting to attend classes. As for children, everything they see at birth must be novel, interesting and fast-moving. As far as you know, no matter when your girl can beat the offspring of the dark red dragon tribe, I agree to her taking a week off. It's not my wife, their child. Hey, wait for me to walk slowly, my wife. My wife. But their kid is already over 100 years old. Waste dad, we're going to that class again. Bai Wenxue is a bit afraid of her mother. After all, her father is just a verbal education, and she is really skilled. Last night, he sneaked out and had a late-night snack with Sun Long. I don't know who leaked the news and was caught. The key has not yet escaped, and Bai Wenxue still cannot forget the scene of the society's death at that time. Why does the little princess of the dragon clan have to fly all the way to school under the scorching sun? Why can't there be private education? Damn it, even if she goes to another world, she will harm me. Bai Wenxue tightened her claws in anger and punched the surrounding air. And on the nearby rocks, there were some cracks and a small claw mark. Even though I am already proficient in magic, I am not allowed to push the main storyline. If she follows the normal game process, she needs to learn all their spells and secrets on the territory of the Dragon Clan, and obtain inheritance before she can leave the Dragon Clan and go outside to sea. But she has only now learned all the low-level techniques of the Dragon Clan with embarrassment, and she has no access to high-level techniques. As for the secret techniques, let alone inheriting them. It's only been a year now, and I don't know how my real parents are doing. Although Bai Wenxue knew that her worries were unnecessary. After all, in this game, no, it should be called a different world now. The state of playing is actually not the same as the flow rate of the outside world. When using it, the time from the outside world is almost not flowing. Although I don't know the principle, Bai Wenxue only thinks it's awesome. There's no way, he's just a college student. What else do you want from him? Soon, a huge tree appeared in Bai Wenxue's sight, and that was her destination. Xiao Xue is here, everyone is here. Let's start classes early. An old man with graying hair and long beard stood in a place that looked like a podium, looking at the white snow flying from afar and smiling at the dragons in front of him. And in this classroom, or rather on this branch, there is a personal form. However, they generally have horns of various colors and shapes on their heads. Winning, the snow is still the latest to arrive today. Hurry up and have breakfast. Alright, I got it. The black-haired boy reluctantly gave some kind of meat in his hand to the green-haired boy beside him. You're really not worth it, take me as a gamble, right? Bai Wenxue gave the young man with green hair a paw when he went up, and then he couldn't help but bite off a piece of meat before flying to his position. As for why Bai Wenxue hasn't turned into a human yet, mainly because she doesn't know how to. After all, transformation is a mid-level spell, and Bai Wenxue has not yet reached that level. Many students here have already mastered a few mid-level spells. After all, here, Bai Wenxue is considered a transfer student. Which family of dragons did you see come to school as soon as they were born? Everyone starts school at the age of 4. But this is not to blame anyone, after all, it was Bai Wenxue's own request. She still wants to quickly return to her original world, even if it's a task, to get a chance to go back first. I don't know why, but she hasn't even received a task yet. In the words of that god, she's still in the beginner's village, so where can she do the task? Although Bai Wenxue knew that what was said was correct, this distant and unpredictable situation sometimes made Bai literature feel somewhat powerless. And that's also why her initial enthusiasm for learning spells was so strong, gradually returning to a state of decadence. There is always a reason for the development of things, and there is no other way. But Bai Wenxue believes that one day she will be able to return to her original world. So I still haven't reduced my frequency of learning spells. Chapter 4. The little princess also goes to the 8 in the morning. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. De Co Lois Ara Trong Quatrin Lay Text. Chapter 5. Forming a baby through transformation. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Then let's extend from this spell. Bai Wenxue looked at the old man in front of him, while the other person returned to the podium just now. Stretching out his hand, he opened a semi-transparent film of light in front of him. Light, or rather all elemental spells and magic, can attach to any object. The specific manifestation is that attaching to weapons can effectively enhance various attack abilities, such as fire, ice, and so on. There is also a specific way of killing ghosts with light. Of course, I believe you have already understood these small principles. Bai Wenxue nodded. Unlike in games, where only one element can be selected for use at a time, in reality, Bai Wenxue has no restrictions and can even attach a wooden stick into a colorful stick using elemental magic. Can you imagine being hit by a wooden stick and experiencing various strange things such as burns, frostbite, abrasions, toxins, blisters, paralysis, etc. on your body at the same time? Bai Wenxue can really do it. Then fast forward to mid-level magic, but before that, I'll teach you how to transform. As he spoke, a set of pure white clothing appeared beside the old man. Bai Wenxue has seen Belong wear this kind of clothing, which is usually worn by rigid dragons. They only change into their own clothes with the help of their parents after returning home. To say something like that, Bai Wenxue feels very similar to the style worn by ancient Greek scholars, but women tend to be more conservative, or rather the one worn at 37 in 1999. It's probably this type. However, Bai Wenxue is also very clear about what it means now. Perhaps in the eyes of the teacher in front of her, she is already a god-level student who can quickly complete various spells. However, her mother may not have this awareness. Bai Wenxue really feels that her mother is too strict with her. Transformation is actually very simple, but generally speaking, appearance is casual. You can become whatever you want to become, but in most cases, you choose to become human. As he was speaking, the teacher took out photos one by one, showing the appearance of human beings. Bai Wenxue saw that the materials were all from various beautiful women. However, based on your condition, it would be more suitable to become a child. As he spoke, the old man reached out and put away the photo that Bai Wenxue was still flipping through. Ignoring the expression of Bai Wenxue, who was still interested in watching, he placed a stack of photos of human cubs in Bai Wenxue's hand. Bai Wenxue didn't care, after all, her appearance had already been fixed, and how she transformed into the final shape was all her own creation. No, wait a moment. Okay, I get it. Bai Wenxue looked at the teacher, who was somewhat puzzled, but still lowered her head to look at the new photo in her hand. But I still feel regretful in my heart for those fair-skinned, beautiful, and long-legged little sisters just now. However, what surprised Bai Wenxue was that she seemed to see a flicker of white in front of her, as if there was a picture of her own mother. There's a question, teacher. Bai Wenxue suddenly realized something important. You say. If all the transformations were learned at my age, why would there be photos of adults? By the way, there are actually many dragons who have been living in their tribe's territory. They never had the idea of going out before, and if they want to go out, the dragon's form is obviously not very convenient. That's why they came here to see me for materials. They are just serious learning materials. Really, of course it's true. The old man with white hair wiped the faint sweat on his forehead and smiled helplessly at Bai Wenxue in front of him. This little girl is a bit too sensitive, almost fooled by it. The cold and aloof character she has always maintained is almost gone. However, Bai Wenxue did not pursue such a trivial matter. After all, everyone likes to see beautiful women, and the teacher's explanation is still very reasonable. With more dragons, any kind of existence may appear, and who knows if there is such a strange thing. Then I'll start. Transforming into human form is more about using magic to directly transform one's body into a human form. But the essence is still dragon, and there is no change in this aspect. If the realm is high, it is easy to see the clues of transformation. Okay, let me take a look at my mana flow and learn from me. As soon as the words fell, the old man extended his hand, while Bai Wenxue placed his paw on the other person's palm. Is it so troublesome before? Feeling the constantly flowing energy on the other person's body, Bai Wenxue also furrowed her brows slightly. After all, that energy seemed to be continuously released. If that were the case, Bai Wenxue really didn't have the confidence to maintain this state for a long time. The fatal flaw of age lies here. Compared to those centenarians, the energy in one's own body is still too low. For example, if a newborn dragon has an untrained energy of 100, then the magic power of humans is 10, elves are 70, and orcs are 5. Carefully feel the cycle of energy, which is the process of coming out of the body and then returning to the body after operation. In fact, the consumption is not significant, and with your current abilities, it is more than enough. After receiving such recognition, Bai Wenxue still began to try seriously. From the most basic tail, to the hands, feet, trunk. At this point, the old man in front of him was basically certain that Bai Wenxue could succeed. Steady, the first time will be relatively difficult, but after that, it will become a natural phenomenon. As he spoke, under the gaze of the old man, Bai Wenshue's whole body gradually turned into a beam of light, while the old man reached out and completely enveloped Bai Wenshue's body in an opaque square in the next moment. When Bai Wenxue regained consciousness and realized that she had succeeded, she found herself trapped in this space. No. Teacher, what are you doing? Why are you doing this? In an instant, many stories had already appeared in Bai Wenshue's heart. Just like a gentle old man who is incredibly dirty inside, lurking in the dragon clan and colluding with outsiders to kidnap and sell the princess of the dragon clan, or perhaps the other side of the teacher was accidentally discovered by oneself, and in order to cover up their actions, they decided to kill the students in pain, and so on. Did you put on your clothes? Ah. Putting aside her anger, Bai Wenxue realized that her body was actually, Wait a moment. Bai Wenshue's pure white pretty face suddenly blushed with embarrassment. After realizing that her teacher was just trying to avoid suspicion, Bai Wenxue also misunderstood the other party and didn't know how to get along with them in the future. It would definitely be awkward. At the thought of this, Bai Wenxue was about to use her own feet to carve out a 3-bedroom living room. Chapter 6 Is really a joke. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. That. Okay, teacher. The sound of Bai Wenxue came out, which also relieved the old man who was maintaining the wall. According to normal circumstances, this kind of thing should have been shaped with the help of one's own family members. It is important to be able to observe the changes in one's own child in more detail, as failure can indeed lead to problems. But that unreliable couple actually threw such a small child directly at themselves. Thinking about it, the old man suddenly felt as if his fist had hardened. Xiaoxue is so cute, but it doesn't seem like any of the photos I gave her were created by herself. Of course, you have to think about your own appearance, those are just references. Bai Wenxue replied positively. And this is basically the consensus of all dragon tribes. Because in terms of ideology, dragons generally believe that they are the most advanced creatures in the world, while humans are not valued by them, so they add special dragon horns as symbols to their transformed forms of expression. Of course, dragon horns with different colors and shapes are also one of the most important ways to judge the other race among the dragon race. After all, their respective races are also one of their pride. Then let's go to the library with me, this old guy. Let's go home at noon, and I'll go with you. At the end of the day, Bai Wenxue still holds the status of a princess, and the noble status that has been predetermined since birth can reduce trouble in many things. Well, I want to go see mid-level magic, Grandpa. I want to become stronger. Xiaoxue is talking about actual combat, right? But at least you will have to wait until you are almost 100 years old to participate in the first actual combat, and your family members should also accompany you. Xiaoxue. It should be someone from your grandparents' generation to accompany you. But. Alright, let's not talk about that anymore. Do you know what important day it is today, Xiaoxue? What is it? Bai Wenxue wanted an answer, but after seeing the teacher's expression, she knew that the other person would never tell her. You follow behind me and observe carefully. I know you have a lot of things you really want to learn, and it seems that you have always been very anxious. However, I also have many constraints, and there are many limitations in teaching spells. I cannot casually teach you. I know, let's go. Of course, Bai Wenxue knew that all along, his teacher had been silently performing various special spells in front of him, many of which had not even appeared in textbooks, but he didn't tell himself when he asked him. But those spells are actually mid-level or even higher level spells that have appeared in the game. Unfortunately, Bai Wenxue cannot fully learn, and unauthorized practice can actually cause unnecessary injuries. So most of them just have an impression in their minds. Of course, what you see is definitely not attack spells, but various practical spells. However, Bai Wenxue always feels something is wrong. The whole morning has passed like this. Just looking at the books in the low-level area, Bai Wenxue's improvement is already very limited. After all, she has learned almost all the spells in the low-level area. If she really wants to improve, she should go to the level of learning mid-level spells. Go back, Grandpa will also go back with you. You guys are so strange today. You will understand then. Bai Wenxue certainly knew it was her birthday. After all, it was a plot she had watched before, but she still deliberately pretended to be puzzled and kept asking the teachers around her. The two dragons flew in the sky towards Bai Wenxue's home, which was the main city of the tribe and the largest and only settlement area of the dragon tribe. Today's place looks particularly spectacular. The various giant dragons flying in the sky constantly caught the eyes of the two dragons, and such a large number of scenes are not usually seen. The dragon chanted and roared, and the strong wind from its wings kept blowing against the faces of the two dragons. Meanwhile, Bai Wenxue, with her small mouth slightly open, stared in shock at the scene in front of her and widened her eyes. In the game, what you see is one thing, but in reality, what you see is another state. For this lively and competitive appearance, Bai Wenxue believed that no man could resist it, and she was very clear that all the dragons here would not harm her, so she was very bold. What is that? It's so gorgeous. Bai Wenxue reached out and pointed at the silver dragon waving its fiery flames not far away, asking in surprise. That's the heavenly comet dragon, which is also a pure dragon bloodline. It can be considered an ancient dragon species. It lives in high altitude areas all year round, has a fast speed, and is very good at fire element type attack spells. What about that one? The chieftain of the Qinglong tribe is known for his wood and water skills. It is said that there was once a dragon that made rainfall in the human kingdom, and was eventually called a miracle and bestowed the title of divine beast. However, most dragons actually possess high-level water element spells. However, their tribe is still very powerful, ranking among the top 10 races in the entire dragon tribe. Bai Wenxue kept asking, and the teachers around him tirelessly explained the surrounding dragons to Bai Wenxue. Of course, without any introduction, no one knows who the princess of the dragon clan is and what she looks like. Although it has the ability to transmit messages, dragons also dislike being disturbed. This kind of ethnic gathering is still very rare. Dad! I'm back. Bai Wenxue looked at his old father standing in front of the door waiting for him to arrive and generously embraced him. However, from the surprised expression on his face, it was clear that he did not recognize his daughter. To be honest, sometimes she feels like her father is a bit foolish, but she also heard that his father is very domineering outside. Is it possible that he is the other side of his family? Although Bai Wenxue didn't believe it a bit, she still thought it was possible. Little darling, you're back. Dad misses you so much. As he spoke, the blond man leaned his head towards Bai Wenxue, wanting to rub against her cheek. Wait, you hesitated just now, didn't you? Bai Wenxue extended her cute and plump little hand, supporting the other person's approaching face with one hand, and asked with an unhappy expression at the corner of her mouth. Because she just saw clearly that her father recognized her only after seeing the teacher following her. No, how could I not recognize my obedient daughter? You have a smooth tongue, but if someone has spared you, I'll punish you for taking me out for a meal. Of course. As he spoke, the blond man felt a slight chill rising from behind him. Bai Lai, come with me. Wife, I was just joking. Did the banquet originally not require a protagonist? You are listening at novelfull.audio. Welcome to my daughter's birthday banquet on time, and today is also the time for me to introduce my daughter, the only princess of our dragon clan, to you all. As she spoke, a blonde little loli walked out from beside Bai Lai, and that was our protagonist. Bai Lai is the name of Bai Wenxue's father, who is now the Dragon King, while beneath the towering podium are the dragon race powerhouses who have already transformed into human forms. I am glad to meet you all in such a scene, and I hope that in the future, everyone can also watch my growth. A princess is a princess. Among the dragon clan, strength is paramount, and Bai Lai, who is currently the strongest, is the only speaker. As his child, Bai Wenxue is undoubtedly the princess, which does not require any test. So in what Bai Wenxue said, there were no words such as test or exercise included. She was born to be. Clan leader, may I ask, we are indeed here to attend the princess's first birthday. Right. Underneath the stage, a woman in a gorgeous dress with a fiery figure extended her hand like a child asking a question to Bai Lai standing next to Bai Wenxue, while her head was adorned with a pair of gorgeous curved golden horns. Well, that's right. Isn't transformation something that only children in their 60s and 70s do? Ha ha ha. You said it well. Listening to the other person's question, Bai Lai couldn't help but burst out laughing. For Bai Wenxue, this is her first birthday in this world, but for her father and mother, it is a blatant display. Show off their already outstanding child. At this moment, after finishing what he had just said, Bai Lai's gaze kept scanning the dragon standing below, looking at the puzzled expressions on their faces. The corners of Bai Lai's mouth slowly rose. The little girl had already learned the method of transformation before she was only 1 year old, and her learning of low-level spells had come to an end. Even Mr. Aphrodite, who had educated countless young dragons, praised the little girl greatly. Speaking, by Bai Lai's side, the teacher who had just been constantly introducing dragons to Bai Wenxue slowly walked out of the shadows that followed. I admit this. Your Highness Royal Highness Princess really has a special talent for learning magic. The use of magic and magic is more impeccable. It is more like a natural learning machine for learning. All magic has never failed after learning it once. Listening to Aphrodite's speech, the dragons below gradually fell silent, followed by soaring cheers and dragon chants. And so far, Bai Wenxue has finally understood what kind of status his teacher holds among the dragon race. He, Aphrodite, is a senior dragon of the dragon clan who is over 100,000 years old. Even Bai Wenxue's parents were once his students, and more than half of the prominent dragon clans present now are his former students. If Bai Lai's words may have an element of boasting, but Aphrodite would never lie. As for why Bai Wenxue, who is clearly a player who has already completed the level, only found out now, you should know that for ordinary players, they are all pushing the main storyline and looking for secondary storylines. Who cares about the NPC's character network, let alone single-player games, who will read the text word by word? And this may also be the reason why many players get different rewards every time they swipe twice or 3 times. Bai Wenxue also smiled helplessly, turned around, and walked back into the home behind her. That's right, this castle-like place is where Bai Wenxue usually lives. There are many rooms and the place is very large, but Bai Wenxue's biggest interest is still staying in her own library, which is filled with books that have been covered in dust for a long time. And those are things that cannot be touched or interacted with in the game, but this also greatly aroused Bai Wenxue's curiosity. It's really troublesome. Ignoring her slightly trembling arm, Bai Wenxue grabbed the right bowl with her left hand and said helplessly. Although my birthday has been a feast for the eyes, I am not happy at all. Perhaps I'm missing my true home, right? Even after a year, Bai Wenxue still hasn't truly opened her heart. She believes that her belonging is still her small and warm room, as well as her ordinary but gentle family. Sigh. Bai Wenxue let out a light sigh and walked along her familiar route towards the basement of the castle. Why is my princess sighing today? In the line of sight, a snow-white figure appeared in Bai Wenxue's eyes, and that was Bai Mu, who had just started a big fire. It's nothing, just some feelings. What's there to tell us? As a child, don't keep everything in your heart. What are you really looking for? Bai Mu extended her finger to Bai Wenxue's chest, but Bai Wenxue remained silent. But after hearing the final question, Bai Wenxue looked at her mother in front of her with some shock, her gentle gaze without any sense of oppression in her eyes. Forget it, I won't stop you from doing anything you want today, but after today, we still need to study seriously, after all. We still need to rely on you to lead us. Bai Mu looked at her familiar and unfamiliar daughter in front of her and shook her head, then straightened up and walked out again. Sometimes I feel like you're too mature. I thought my child would be more rebellious, but I didn't expect you to be so obedient. The following words were not spoken because the voice of the words had become increasingly quiet, until Bai Wenxue could not hear any sound except for the sound of high heels echoing continuously in this huge corridor. Am I mature? Taking a new step forward, Bai Wenxue asked in her heart. She doesn't feel like she just has to do some things. When are you going to see it again? I just want to go back once. That's all. The first time Bai Wenxue was so angry, her almost roaring voice made the light spots in the corner gradually appear, and that was the deity that brought Bai Wenxue into this world. I really can't do anything about you, but this time I really have a task for you. As she spoke, the familiar electronic prompt gradually came out of Bai Wenxue's mind. Announcement, task transmission in progress. Please complete the exploration task. Lament of the Dragon King, reward. 24 hours. Chapter 8. Lament of the Dragon King. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Dragon Kings. Lament. Bai Wenxue didn't understand the meaning of this task. As far as she knows, the Dragon King has not changed for tens of thousands of years and has always been her own father, and her birth has not sparked any so-called competition for the throne. She doesn't understand what to do with this task. Alright, that's all you need to do now. Just go and find what you need to do. Learning spells alone is useless. This is no longer a game, you should be very clear about it. As soon as the words fell, the golden light that was still in front of Bai Wenxue's line of sight gradually disappeared, turning into small streams of light and disappearing into the air, leaving Bai Wenxue standing still in place. Take a step and see. The Lament of the Dragon King, a name that Bai Wenxue subconsciously associated with the history of the Dragon Clan, may have broken through in historical books that no one has ever read. After all, this task is not a combat-type task as soon as you hear it. On the contrary, perhaps she wants to better understand her identity and race. After all, understanding that aspect is also what Bai Wenxue currently lacks the most. Bai Wenxue stepped out of her legs, her light footsteps echoing in the huge corridor, while the destination remained her most valued underground library. As for my own birthday, Bai Wenxue herself doesn't have much interest, as long as she appears at the beginning and end, and from her slightly trembling appearance from the stage just now, it can be seen that Bai Wenxue herself doesn't like giving speeches either. All she wants to do is go home. Creak. The door of the basement has been decaying due to aging, and the positions of the door bolts and shafts have already begun to decay. Looking at the dusty appearance, it is clear that there are no dragons coming here. And in this room, there are clean marks, no need to think, they must have been left by Bai Wenxue after all. It's hard to imagine that there are only 3 people living in a castle with a huge floor area. I don't know how to organize it either. If the library of Giant Tree School is very clean and tidy, and the placement of books is clear and organized, then the book placement here is chaotic, and the environment, forget it, let's not talk about it. Dragon. 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 Bai Wenxue kept muttering incessantly, holding the lighting spell he had actually learned long ago in his hand. With a hint of light brought by the lighting, he wanted to find any book with the word dragon on the bookshelf. After just a few searches, Bai Wenxue had already taken out more than 10 books in her hand. Let's start with these today. I feel a bit helpless because the collection here is rich in content, but thanks to Bai Wenxue having read many books here in the past year, it is still a good judgment. Perhaps it is the benefit brought by time travel. In Bai Wenxue's eyes, the originally obscure and difficult to understand dragon script would be directly translated into vernacular language that she could understand, while she could not understand the human language in this world. History of the Dragon Clan, successive Dragon Kings, and the war history of Dragon Kings. Dragons are creatures that were born from the beginning of the world, allowing them to roam freely. Their huge wings cover the sky, their powerful bodies tear apart mountains and rocks, and their powerful spells stand undefeated. And thus ruled the world. And after that, the content seemed like it had been blacked out by someone, it was a mess, and the illustrations were also chaotic, not as clear as before. Afterwards, the Dragon Clan returned to their homeland, gradually giving up ruling the world and returning to their initial stable life. Although it is the history of the Dragon Clan, in this book it seems more like a third perspective writing content. Is it possible that the person who wrote this book is not the Dragon Clan? Why is the book here? Bai Wenxue put down this book with confusion and opened another book beside her. And the next one is like an encyclopedia with a menu of ancient dragon kings written down, a genealogy. No, it's just an introduction. But for Bai Wenxue, this is also the most important reference material. For the confusing record in the previous book, it is still this one that has more reference value. However, although it may be an introduction to past Dragon Kings, in reality, there are only 3 of them. The original Dragon King, also known as the founder of the glorious history of the Dragon Clan, did not have a true name. He was the first dragon revered as a king from birth. The shining golden scales on his body in the picture were no different from those on Bai Wenxue, but Bai Wenxue could still see the difference between himself and the other. And the 6-dimensional attribute is also terrifying. As long as Bai Wenxue cannot compete with it, he will be crushed by the opponent between flipping his hands. After all, the difference in physical strength cannot be compensated for. The second Dragon King is not Bai Wenxue and his companions, but a terrifying giant dragon with black scales, Candle Dragon, and Candle 9-een. In terms of ability, it is still unclear, but it is still a strong and outrageous type. However, Zhu Jiuyin is still very familiar to Bai Wenxue. As a descendant of China, although I cannot say that I know all the mythological stories, I still have a rough understanding. Among them, Zhu Jiuyin is a relatively familiar content. Strictly speaking, the opponent is not a dragon, but a god in the form of a dragon. Beyond the Northwest Sea, to the north of Qishui, lies Jiangwei Mountain. There is a divine being, with a snake-like face and a red body, and a straight eye riding on it. Its closed eyes are dark, its vision is bright, it does not eat or sleep, it does not rest, and wind and rain are paying homage. It is the 9-een of Candle, it is the Dragon of Candle. This is an introduction to this Dragon King. And the next one is my own father. But some of the things I don't understand are that these Dragon Kings disappeared suddenly, rather than dying or losing in competition. Bai Wenxue couldn't imagine that Zhu Jiuyin would lose to her somewhat foolish father in battle. So I don't believe it at all. So why exactly is it? Bai Wenxue found the right direction. Perhaps after knowing the truth, she could understand the meaning of this task. Next book. Put the book away and put it in the bag beside her. Bai Wenxue is preparing to take it back to her room and take a closer look at it at night. Cough. This is a dusty book with secrets about the Dragon Clan that you don't know. From the title, it looks more like a magazine, but adhering to the principle of not missing or leaking, Bai Wenxue still flipped through the book, but who knew that as soon as she opened it, she choked on a mouthful of dust. After seeing the content inside, Bai Wenxue's eyes also darkened. The romance between Dragon King Bai Lai and his wife Ning Shui. The secret between Aphrodite's mentor and students that you don't know. The legendary treasure of the Dragon Clan's territory. The legendary mythical beast of Zero's secret protection, the true face of the blue disk. Does the ancient white stone exist? No, why do we still have Pokémon? Bai Wenxue said with a black line on her face, but obviously no dragon could answer her. P.S. Find a book review. Chapter 9. Enhancing Strength. Well, it's just food protection. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. De co lois ara trong quatrin lay text. Chapter 10. World Integration. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. This is the handover procedure. Okay, are you really giving me the world you manage like this? Of course, my power has gradually become unable to help them. On the contrary, I have become their bondage. Since this is for the sake of my children, it is better to hand them over to you, who has a higher level of life, to manage. And you. I will be with them. In front of Guangtuan stood a tall, black-haired woman, and the next second, Guangtuan gradually changed its shape and became a white-haired little loli. The two of them looked up and down at each other at this strange height. You will die. I will devour you. As gods, there are no gods who can survive or die, but exist in another form. You and I are all aware of this, so please protect my world, and I have also left my last hand. As she spoke, the black-haired woman stared at the nothingness not far away, as if she had seen through the void. Are you talking about that child? I feel the bond you planted on him. Don't you believe me? I don't mean I don't believe you, on the contrary, it's because I trust you too much that I do this. I see, you also understand that if you merge with the world I manage, the extraterrestrial creatures that constantly invade here will also invade your world, right? That's why you're doing this. Not only that, I will be with the world. You. I really think you're a lunatic. Xiaoyulai's voice trembled slightly. Although there was a huge gap in strength between the two, at this moment, she seemed to be at a disadvantage. But the black-haired woman didn't care so much. All right, I'm ready, devour me. I understand. As she spoke, Xiaoyulai lifted her hand and looked at the black-haired woman in front of her. Cool. Bai Wenxue, who had a swollen belly, lay down on her own bed like this. How could a 1-year-old child eat so much at once? Today. Okay, I've decided to have a good night's sleep tonight. There's no need to read anymore. Raising her hand, she threw a bag of books placed by the window into the distance. Bai Wenxue took off her formal dress and changed into a pure white pajama, then lay back on her bed with a happy face and a small pillow. Book. I eat lemons. Teacher, what exactly is Xiaoshue's situation like? You really. Sometimes don't push this child too hard. She's already excellent enough, only 1 year old. What else do you want her to do? If it were your age, you wouldn't even be able to speak, let alone learn magic. Aphrodite looked righteous and sought the well-being of Bai Wenxue. Alas, I also realized today that she is a bit too melancholic compared to her peers. And peers. In short, compared to the average dragon cub. Every time I see her, my eyebrows furrow. You know what we are worried about, we are just afraid that one day we won't be able to be by Xiaoshue's side anymore. I know, but learning spells is not something that can be achieved overnight. To start from the basics, the foundation of the body is also very important. Xiaoshue, who is from the ancestral dragon bloodline, and you obviously don't have to worry about this. However, Xiaoshue's body is still too young, and many spells cannot be learned without a strong physique. Do you have any ideas? What's the solution? Can't you take Xiaoshue out for a stroll? Go play around in this world. The dragon clan is very stable, it doesn't matter for a year or two. The condensation snow was obviously suppressed by Aphrodite's suggestion, and even Bai Lai, who was sitting on the side listening to this parent-teacher meeting, was shocked. However, Bai Lai also agreed with this solution. He also wants to stick and pinch with his lovely daughter, This is probably not appropriate. Is there anything wrong? Have there been any major disasters in the past few hundred years? No. Has the dragon clan been persecuted? Who can still persecute our dragon clan? I'll just take the dragon and exterminate him. Hey. Don't. I was just using an analogy. Besides, isn't there a teleportation array? If there's a problem, you can just come back directly. Anyway, besides pure dragon species, there are no other creatures that can understand the dragon clan's secret language. Looking at the increasingly excited condensation snow in front of her, Aphrodite quickly stopped the other person's thoughts and spoke up to persuade. Perhaps it's also a way. Xiaoshue really needs to relax, and a year or two is not a long time. It's just a small vacation. Bai Lai spoke in a supportive tone on the side. I agree, teacher. You can take care of the affairs of the clan while we are away. If you have any questions, you can contact Bai Lao. Aphrodite agreed, but he also knew that dragons were very independent creatures and generally did not encounter situations where they had to find other dragons to reason with. Most of the time, they were solved alone. Just like the war between the Minbo Dragon clan and the Fire Dragon clan in the past, the reason was only because of the ownership of a river. Many times, dragon disputes are actually very simple and easy to understand, completely different from human intrigues. Perhaps today we are still on the opposing side, but tomorrow we may hold hands and reconcile, walking together in the mountains and wilderness. That's the decision. Let's leave tomorrow and make our first stop at the most familiar elf tribe. Starting from the friendly race would be more convenient for us. The proud dragon looks down upon the tiny human aura that discriminates against them simply because they are of a different race. As a generation-friendly elf tribe, it is naturally the best place for dragons to vacation. It's up to you to decide, so I won't disturb you. However, I still suggest that sometimes you should guide Xiaoxue more. I have seen her sad expression unintentionally more than once. Bai Lai, you did too poorly on this. Looking at Bai Lai's introduction to his daughter today, it was like showing off Bai Wenxue to the dragons, which made Aphrodite very dissatisfied. Children are very sensitive creatures, and they will always strive to respond to their parents' expectations. However, the higher the expectations, the more bitter the child will feel in their heart, not to mention the 1-year-old Bai Wenxue. She is the youngest among children. However, Bai Wenxue must be a child in terms of age, but is she really sensitive and fragile? Isn't it really too slow to feel the emotions of those around me? I will reflect, teacher. Bai Lai also decided to compensate her daughter well, but let's start from tomorrow morning. I believe she will be so excited to inform Bai Wenxue that she doesn't need to attend classes tomorrow and can go out to play. As soon as he thought of his daughter's happy and affectionate embrace, Bai Lai's heart began to beat wildly.